Rev up your engines! Okay, today we got a Ford Fusion that has running problems. It stumbles, the check engine light comes on, it was even flashing. What a surprise, a Ford that has problems. Now, granted, this thing's gone over 230,000 miles. So, maybe it's on its last leg, maybe it isn't. But, before I even start analyzing it, I can smell it. And it smells like the catalytic converter is getting too hot. So the first thing we're gonna do is put on my fancy scan tool and see what kind of temperatures it's getting to. I got it plugged in down there and it's already starting by itself. So we'll do a standalone diagnosis. Read the VIN already. It's pretty fast. So at least we know the computer system's hooked up. 3-liter automatic gasoline. Here we go. So this nice hotel scanner does a topology scan. So here we go. We'll go through the whole scan. And while we're looking, I mean, the dash is still good. It's not cracked. You know, I paid $2 grand for the car last year. Back seat's still decent. Obviously, dogs live in here. You can see that. And these are seat covers. The stuff underneath has holes in it. All right, 10 trouble codes. So let's start on the top. Instrument cluster, we probably won't care about that because this is a running problem, but we'll see what the code is. The Ford dash is going wild because it's doing a bunch of analysis. That's how Fords are. It made that beep. I didn't do it. Things will flash on and off as it checks itself. Data for vehicle security, well, we really don't care about that. He's got a problem with running, not starting. Okay, we'll go to HVAC. AC system. Doesn't have anything to do with the car not running right. You don't expect an old Ford to have a working air conditioning system anyway. Voltage out of range, who really cares about that? Although we will check the battery later just to see if it's got a problem. Okay, and here we go, check the next one. Audio control, we don't even care about the radio. We won't even look at that. We'll look at the PCM, which is main data. Cylinder number 4, misfire. And just out of curiosity, let's check the freeze frame data. Here's the freeze frame data. 54% load, 1,819 RPM. The car was going 50 miles an hour. Now, a lot of reasons can make a misfire. Now, this was under load. A lot of times, that's just internal engine wear. We'll have to check that out with another machine later. Now, we'll look at the body control module, see what's going on there. The code's for the radio, so that doesn't mean anything without runs. It's for the occupant classification module, so we don't care about that either. So, trying to erase them all. The only thing it wouldn't erase is system not ready to check everything, which happens when you get code, so that's something we don't have to worry about. Let's start it up. And we'll look at live data for the PCM. Remember, black's good, red is bad. We'll look for some red stuff, see if we can find any red stuff. Everything's good so far. Let's see if we can get to the misfire information. There's nothing wrong with the ignition timing, so that's not causing it. That's got no faults. And the injector for number 4 has no fault. Now we'll look at spark duration. See if number 4 looks different than the others. You notice it's slightly lower. Quite a bit lower. Now as I rev it up, the engine sounds good, so let's look under the hood. I can definitely smell it's hot, but here's the thing. If you have a misfire, you're gonna get raw gas in the exhaust, which is gonna make the catalytic converter get hot. And then the light's gonna start flashing on and off. So, originally, when he bought it last year, he had that changed. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap these two and take it for a test. This coil on plug assembly was bought at AutoZone. So maybe it's just bad. I've seen that happen many times. These Chinese made things often don't last very long. So we're gonna switch it and then take it for a road test. But first, we'll take it out. So we'll pull out the spark plug and check it, but unfortunately I forgot to bring my ratchet. So now that we have a ratchet, we can get it out, take a look at it. It's been in there about a year. It'll give us a good idea what's happening inside. And what's happening is this. The engine is all wearing out inside. You can see it is covered with burnt oil and worn out. See, with the new one, they're supposed to look like this. This one is all worn up, caked with burning oil. The engine is obviously worn. No surprise with 230,000 miles. So we're going to change our thing. We're not even going to switch the coil. We're going to put this in and take it for a ride. So we'll put the coil back on. Don't forget to plug it in and put the bolt on. It helps ground it. They have to be grounded, so make sure you get that on snug. Get it nice and snug so it's grounded. You need power and ground to make them work. Get in, take it for a spin now. See what happens. Go, old car, no backup camera. It's an old Ford, it'll probably make all kinds of noises. I can hear suspension things boinging. But I mean, it doesn't run that bad so far. And get it, the AC still works. so I can roll up the windows. And they still roll up too, so we'll take it for a little spin. Doesn't shift bad for 230,000 miles. Now, I'm not going to take the corner too hard. This guy says he wants to keep it in the streets. He doesn't even want to go on the highway because he doesn't trust this thing. I don't think it's all that bad. The back of road, and since the misfire occurs at 50, let's see what happens at 50. Good thing the data freeze frame told us when it went bad, so we'll just mosey along, speed up a little. Now we're doing 50, we'll just cruise a little. We'll do a little cruising, and then we'll go back and look at the data. It's running perfectly fine. The check engine light isn't on. It's going pretty good. Just realize this. If you have a misfire in your engine, you're going to get raw gas going into the exhaust in most cases. That will make the catalytic converter get too hot and trip a code for the catalytic converter. He was also getting that code before. Even, let's say, it isn't running too rich, but the misfire makes it run too lean. Running lean will also overheat the catalytic converter. But in this case, it was more misfires because it wasn't running particularly lean or rich. It was just that number 4 cylinder that was having a problem, which it has had before. So it makes total sense that it's just worn out, because when we took it out, it had like 90,000 worth of wear on it, and he's only driven it about 8,000 miles in the year. An old Ford clunker with 230,000 miles, it really doesn't run all that bad. I'm kind of shocked. Of course, I did put the spark plug in. It would have been misfiring like mad if I hadn't changed that worn out carbon covered spark plug. So we'll take a spin back and see what it says. Actually, it cruises quite well. I can't complain. There's something he paid $2,000 for last year. It was his first car. Now, I'm too lazy to hook up my big scan tool and set it all up, so I'm just going to use this Innova that's a lot faster to see if there's any misfires for that trip. We did drive it well over 50 miles an hour. It has no trouble codes now. So he fixed it with one spark plug. Now, he had taken it to a Firestone dealer. They wanted $9,000 worth of work. Now, come on, who would put $9,000 into a car they paid $2,000 for? But the spark plug made it stop misfiring because it's a new one. It's not covered with carbon. Now, he put the old one in like 9,000 miles ago. So, hey, if it lasts 8,000 or 9,000 miles and this thing's still running and he keeps oil in it, because it burns oil, but as long as you keep it in, it'll burn it, and the spark plug eventually will foul out. But you can keep replacing it. I had a customer with a BMW in Houston years ago. I had to change the spark plugs every 6,000 miles. But luckily it was an inline 6. It was real easy to get to. So she'd just bring it to me, I'd put new ones in. Drove it years that way until she finally got rid of it. So, 2 lessons. Don't go to Firestone to get an estimate to fix your car, especially if it's old. They'll sell you the kitchen sink. And 2, sometimes it's as simple as the spark plug's worn out because the engine's burning oil. No one in their right mind is going to rebuild this engine for thousands and thousands of dollars. But as you see, it runs perfectly fine until the plug gets shorted out. Now, as time goes on, it will probably get covered with oil even faster. But what the heck? If he'd get 8,000 or 9,000 miles, he's looking for another car anyways. He might as well keep driving it. And here's some bonus questions and answers. JK Potts 40 says, what do you think of the Pontiac Solstice? Okay, those are those sporty cars that they made, and I believe at one point in time Saturn had a version of it. They're the convertibles, and they're beautiful looking cars. I'll give them that, right? Being GM products, they had all kinds of problems as they aged. The automatic transmissions were garbage. As they got high mileage, and most of them would break. And the engines, as they aged, would often burn oil, make clanking noises. Now, if you're talking about buying a used one, I have customers with them, and they're weekend toys. They don't put much mileage. They don't drive them hard. They put the top down. They have fun driving around. You can get them pretty dirt cheap. If you are thinking about buying one, you got to have a guy like me, a good mechanic, check it out. A million things could be wrong, but they might say, okay, it's in decent shape. From my experience, if it's got like 120,000 miles on it, runaway, they fall apart then. You can still get parts and stuff for them because most of the stuff is generic GM crap on them. And they are cute looking cars and they're fun to drive around, but they really can fall apart as they age. And now that they're 17 years old and being a convertible sporty car, a lot of guys beat the heck out of them. There's nothing left. I wouldn't touch one if it was all beat up. Lane Cat says, Scotty, does a 2025 Camry Hybrid have a timing chain, and does the 2024 Toyota Cross gasoline engine have a timing chain? Yeah, all of them have timing chains now. A relatively more complex design, the Atkinson cycles to get better gas mileage, and there's a lot of strain on the cams, so they use chains. They didn't go to belts. Toyota's been going back to chains for decades with their vehicles now. Hey, my '07 Matrix has a timing chain, not a belt on it. And if you change the oil regularly, generally they pretty much last forever. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles. So yeah, you don't have to worry about the old crap. I mean, I got a rubber timing belt and I got to change it, spend a bunch of money. And half the time, if you try to get a better price, you take it to a mechanic and he doesn't charge you too much, but he does a crappy job. The car doesn't run right because he doesn't have it set up right. So going back to timing chains is a good thing for everybody. The owner who doesn't have to spend extra money, to a mechanic who doesn't have to waste his time on planned obsolescence when they make a part out of rubber instead out of a metal chain. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.